What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be going over a setup guide for Apex Legends Season 10 on the community pack for the Cronus Zen. First, we'll go over the 3.4 and 3.5 patch notes, then the GCI setup in Zen Studio, and finally we'll end with some testing in the firing range. If this video helps you in any way, please like the video and consider subscribing. It really helps out a lot. And without any further ado, let's get into these patch notes. And as you can see here, we have the patch notes for both 3.4 and 3.5, and that's because they were updated in the same day. And this really speaks to how dedicated the devs are for the community pack, that they can release an update and then take feedback on it, and then take that feedback and push another update in the same day to help out with those issues. So it's really impressive. And let's go ahead and start with 3.4. So as we see here, the changelog for 3.4 is the weapon anti-recoil table has been upgraded from a 3-step to a 16-step system. Essentially, this means a weapon can change strength up to 16 times, leading to much greater accuracy. So this just dials in the anti-recoil system even to a greater amount. You know, it was only a 3-step system before, now it's a 16-step. So the adjustments can be more precise. Anti-recoil performance update: weapons now up to 16 times more accurate when using the anti-recoil mod. So we just kind of talked about that. Added the new rampage weapon. Anti-recoil adjusts are now in a percentage based, just like the Pro Pack is. So they took that. Removed hip fire from anti-recoil. So what the last patch did is when you would hip fire your weapon, it would still try to draw that anti-recoil pattern for you for that weapon. So it's really good that they removed that. Removed temporary barrels and optics. This option was not as accurate as planned in some cases. So I hope they bring this one back. And what this was is, instead of going to the firing range and dialing in your weapon every time for all of your weapons, you would just select your weapon like your R301, and then you would also go into a quick toggle menu and say what barrel and what optic you had equipped, because those are the only two attachments that affect your recoil. So you would just say what you had equipped at the time, and it would make those X and Y adjustments for you. So hopefully they can figure that one out and bring that back, because I really did like that option. Optimized rapid fire for all weapons. Good. Auto ping now supports single and that's probably continuous option for ADS plus fire. So when you ADS fire, it's just another auto ping feature. And now 3.5, fixed the holster bug when using automatic profile switching. So what this was doing is, when you would holster your weapon to run faster, if you had your primary weapon selected and then you brought your weapon back out to engage an enemy, or for whatever reason, it would switch to your secondary profile. So now it's staying on your primary after you bring your weapon back out. So that's a really good change. Fixed the holster run mod. I'm not sure what was wrong with it, but they fixed it. Fixed an issue that caused rapid fire to run when using regular fire. Okay, so apparently the rapid fire mod was activating when you used regular fire weapon profile. Hemlock single now uses rapid fire. Oh, that's good. That's what it should be. The ping button is now defaulted to RBR1. So what this was before is, if you didn't select a custom control scheme, it was defaulting your ping to your trigger button, and that was just causing you to rapidly ping whenever you fired your weapon. So that's a really good change. Remove the following unused weapons: R301 Anvil, Flatline Anvil, and Prowler Auto. That's fine, none of them are in the game. Rename the following guns so the text is larger and easier to read on the OLED. So they just shortened everything. The 3030s now labeled as 3030. L-Star went from this to just L-Star. Havoc, yeah, that's good. That's good quality of life changes. Yeah, so that's the patch notes. Let's get into the Zen Studio and set up our GCI. Okay, so here we are in Zen Studio. And as usual, to get a game pack on your Zen, you would just select it from the programmer menu here and drag it down to one of your 8 slots. I have it here in slot 2, and then that will bring up your GCI. And what your GCI is it's this menu here, and it stands for Game Pack Configuration Interface, and this is where you can make your initial setup for your game pack, so you don't have to do a ton of adjustments on the OLED. Makes it just a little bit easier to set up. So we're just going to go through all of the options that we have here and how to set them up. Start with button layout. So basically your button layout, you must match this to your in-game button layout. So whatever it might be, if you play on Ninja, make sure it's on Ninja. If you play on Bumper Jumper, make sure it's on Bumper Jumper. This has to just match whatever you have in game. If you have custom and you want to change any of these defaults, then make sure you have custom selected here. I play on default, so I'm just going to leave that on default. Let's see, next up we have in-game stick layout. So the in-game stick layout, same thing. If you play on Southpaw, Legacy, Southpaw, default, just make sure this matches what what you use in game. It's that simple. Next up is the in-game look dead zone. Again, this is another thing that you want to match to your in-game. But I will say that if you play with a none for your dead zone, like I usually play with a none because I don't have a dead zone, the anti-recoil seems to like the small version better. So I would just set this to small if you play on none. Otherwise, just match it to whatever large, or if you use ALCs, just match it to what you do. But if you play on a none, I would set this to small. Your in-game ALC dead zone, match to your in-game. I usually just set this to 0. But it doesn't really matter because I don't have custom ALCs selected. So your in-game look sensitivity, match it to your in-game. I play on a 5/4. That will be 5 look and then 4 ADS. Response curve, again, match to your settings. If you play on fine aim, high velocity, I just keep this on classic. The game's tuned in the classic, so that's kind of what they want. You know, that's kind of what they recommend to use. Unless you use something else, they're all supported, but it's tuned with the classic response curve. And the same with your in-game ALC response curve. If this is changed, if you use ALCs, make sure that matches. Next, we have block game rumble. So it's important to note that your in-game vibration or rumble must be turned on, or the anti-recoil mods just will not work. So make sure those are turned on. What this does is it either enables or disables your rumble on your controller itself. So if you pick enabled, that's going to disable rumble because you're blocking your in-game rumble, right? You're blocking your game rumble. If you push disabled, you'll get rumble on your controller. Regardless of what option you pick here, you have to have rumble enabled in game. Anti-recoil, we have disabled, enabled, and inverted Y. So obviously anti-recoil is anti-recoil, right? This is what helps you control your weapon. This is what most people get game packs for. Enabling this allows you to take advantage of that anti-recoil. If you play on an inverted controller scheme, make sure you pick the inverted Y. Otherwise, enabled is just fine. And all weapons on all profiles are able to have their anti-recoil adjusted independently, as you can see for both vertical and horizontal when we get to the profiles. But also with anti-recoil, while we're on the subject, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, weapon attachments such as barrels and optics can affect your recoil pattern. So that's why you have to make these adjustments based on the uh, based on the gun you want to use, fully kitted, however you want to set it up. So for our profiles, we have 5 profiles. Each profile you can set um, a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. And as you can see here, both primary and secondary have independent recoil values that can be adjusted. So these are the values that you'll adjust in game to make your recoil perfect. And those adjustments are usually done in game, like in the firing range or whatnot. So we're going to scroll through these profiles. There's all 5 of them. Next, we have our active weapon profile. So the active profile, this is the profile that the pack will default to when loaded. So if you want to have like an early game, regular fire profile, you can make that, and then say you make that profile 5, then you would set this option to profile 5. And then when you load the pack up, it would just default to that, so you don't have to keep switching it back and forth. Rep and profile switch method. You have manual or automatic. Those are our 2 options here. Usually you're going to want to go with automatic, but with manual, when this is selected, you have to manually change your weapon profile to match the gun in your hand. So either your primary or secondary. To do that, for your primary, you want to hold your touchpad or your view button and you push triangle or Y. For your secondary, you hold touchpad or view and you push circle or B. So that'll manually switch between your 2 profiles. If you have automatic on, here, whenever you swap your weapon, the game pack will change to the profile, either your primary or your secondary for you, so you don't have to do that manual switch. Although sometimes the sync doesn't happen perfectly and you need to resync your weapon. To do that, it's the same buttons as you use for the manual. So if you have your primary in your hand and you want to be on your primary profile, you just hold view or touchpad and you press triangle or Y, and that'll sync back to your primary. But it does work really well on automatic, and it's definitely recommended to use. Next, we have aim assist. We have disabled and enabled, right? So enabling it activates the in-game the game pack aim assist, which helps abuse pretty much the in-game aim assist to our advantage, right? So currently, the hybrid aim assist that is in a lot of the community packs is disabled for the ADS pretty much in this pack. And what that's going to do is going to provide higher accuracy at longer distances. The devs are working on bringing this back, but for now, for this update, hybrid is disabled while ADSing. However, you still get fire aim assist while you're hip firing. So a good starting point for your ADS strength is +1 or +2 more than your dead zone, and a fire strength is usually about +5 above your dead zone. The step values control how fast the aim assist moves the little circle that it generates. The slower is generally better for longer range, and faster is better for short range. So to kind of go over what each of these kind of mean, your ADS strength, this is the strength or the shake the game pack will give you when you're holding down the ADS button and not firing. While fire strength, ADS, fire strength right here, this is the same thing. It's the strength or the shake that the game pack will give you while you're hip firing. And then we have ADS step. This is the speed at which the pack draws a tiny circle with your crosshair while ADS and not firing. And then the aim assist fire step. This is the speed at which your pack draws the tiny circle again with your crosshair while hip firing. And once hybrid is implemented back into the packs, these both will have a greater effect while ADS firing. And that's something that's really unique to the community packs. So hopefully that comes back soon. So next we're going to go over some mods. So fast nade, you have enabled or disabled here. And what this does is when it's enabled, it lets you throw your grenades by just pressing the D-pad right without having to select it. So it's pretty convenient. Next we have auto reload, and again we have enabled and disabled as our options here. When enabled, your character will automatically reload after releasing the fire button. So you just hold fire down, you're firing at an enemy. Right when you release it, it's just going to automatically reload for you. Next we have auto ping. So we have on fire repeat, on fire once, on ADS repeat, on ADS once. Those are our options. So on fire repeat, this is pretty much what this does is it spams your ping button at your crosshair location for as long as you have the trigger pulled, your fire trigger pulled. On fire once, which is the one that probably most people use, this gives you a ping at your crosshair location one time per trigger pull. So it's not a spammy type of thing. On ADS repeat, this is like on fire repeat, except it spams the ping button at your crosshair location as long as you have the ADS button pressed rather than fire. And as you can guess, the same with ADS. On ADS once, it gives you the ping once per ADS trigger pull. Next up is holster run. We have enabled and disabled. So when enabled, this mod uses the game's auto sprint setting. This must be enabled in game for the mod to work properly. So what you do is you press sprint and it will holster your weapon. So that lets you move faster. Obviously, to unholster your weapon, you would either ADS or fire, and it would just bring your gun right back out. And then the last thing we have is hair triggers, which again is just an enabled or disabled option. And hair triggers, when enabled, a 10% of pressure on the triggers will be enough to simulate a 100% press. So this is good for getting into a full press of your triggers quicker. This is good for people who don't have trigger stops and things like this. It just gets you to those rapid fire moments quicker and things like that. Okay, so jump toggles are next that I wanted to talk about really quick, and I don't have any information on screen for you, but what they are is they're a way of navigating the pack really quickly, so you're not spending a lot of time going through all the menus on the OLED, and you can quickly get to the items that you need. So some good important jump toggles that you need to know are holding the view or touchpad and pressing the right trigger or R2. This gets you to your weapon selection, so you can quickly select what weapon you just picked up or the weapon that you wanted to use. Holding the view or touchpad button and pressing L1 or LB, that will give you the profile selection, so you can quickly select through your 5 profiles. Holding view or touchpad and pressing the L2 or LT button will send you to your anti-recoil adjustment. So that's how you can quickly adjust your anti-recoil. And then lastly, holding view or touchpad and hitting the R1 or RB button will send you to your aim assist adjustment. So you can quickly adjust your aim assist if that is something you need to do. And then we also have a few quick toggles. Quick toggles are similar to jump toggles, but they're used to turn on and off mods. And some of the important ones are holding your LT or L2 and pressing down on the D-pad. That will turn off your anti-recoil. The same L2 or LT and pressing the D-pad right will let you turn on or off your auto reload. And then holding LT or L2 and pressing view or share is how you turn the mod off. It's your global kill switch, they call it. So it just turns the mod off completely, and then you do the same command to turn the mod back on. And that is it for the GCI setup. Let's get into the firing range and test out some anti-recoil and do some setups with that. All right, so here we are in the firing range, and we're just going to set up a couple common guns. We're going to go R301 and R99. Let's grab a bunch of ammo here. So I already have them selected, as you can see on the Zen cam here. And I'm going to kit them out the way I'd want to play with them in the game. And this will give us our best shot at having them ready to go. Grab a little bit more ammo. So 99, and I want a single. I'm going to use the same ones. Okay, and like I was saying before with the quick toggles, if I didn't have this one selected already, it's holding the view or touchpad and then pressing your trigger button, your R2 or RT. So as you can see there's my trigger, and then I could select what gun I want to use. Right now they're in weapon type order. So I would go to R301, hit circle or B, and then back out, and now I have that as my primary gun. So to set this up, we're going to want to have our anti-recoil quick edit open, and to do that, it's hold your view or touchpad and then press the left trigger or LT. So we're in there now. Then we have our primary Y, primary X. So these are the ones we're worried about right now. We don't worry about secondary Y and X yet. And as you can see, we have profile 1 selected so that we know we're on the correct profile that we need to be adjusting. So our Y is our vertical, our X is our horizontal. If our gun is pulling up, then we want to increase the Y value. If it's pulling down, we want to decrease the Y value. For X, if our gun is pulling to the right, we want to decrease the X value. If our gun is pulling to the left, we want to increase the X value. So for now, we're going to go to Y, and I'm just going to aim at this target dummy and shoot him kind of at the waist here and see where our gun goes. So it went up a little bit, so I'm going to increase this maybe up to 20. And because we want it to stay right where our crosshair is. We don't want it to pull up at all. So let's try this again. And this is without me giving any input at all. All I'm doing is holding the ADS button and the fire button. So let's try this again. So we're still getting some upward. Let's go up to 40. See what we get. So that had a big jump there. Let's go up to 60. Okay. Getting a lot closer. Let's try that again. I mean, that's pretty good right there. The left and right I'm fine with. Okay, actually, we got a little bit of right movement on that dummy. Let's try that again. Okay, that was much better. Yeah, there's a little bit of left and right shake, and I know they said they're working on the recoil patterns a little bit still. But I would be happy with that. And again, that's with me not pressing any of the buttons, right? I'm not, giving any input at all. If I was to, I could make the shots a little bit better. Actually, I'd probably make it even worse. Yeah, that's me mostly taking it off the target. So the anti-recoil is working great. Me, not so much. But I would be happy with that. So we hit B or circle to exit out of that. And now we can go into our R99. So same way, we hold view or touchpad and then L2 or LT, and that'll get us into our AR quick edit. And as you can see, again, we're on profile 1 and now we're secondary Y and X. So we want to make sure we're editing the right profile and then the right weapon, secondary or primary. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, kind of aim at the midsection here and see what kind of recoil we get. So that's going up. Let's go to 30, see what we get. That's a lot closer. I like that. Getting some upwards still. Let's go up to 45. That stayed right where I wanted it to, I think. Again, I'm not doing any control there. Let me go up to 50. It did have a little bit of an upward jump there. Go up to 60. So now it's starting to pull down. So now we know we went a little bit too far. There we go. That was really good. That's pretty laser right there. So there's a little bit of sway there. But I mean, so that was me moving back and forth, obviously, but I think this is the setting that I would go with if I wanted to stay here. No reserve ammo. But I think I would set this at a 55. Now, you can still mess with your left and right a little bit if you wanted to. I usually don't. And also when adjusting anti-recoil, you always want to adjust your Y first and try not to adjust your X if you don't have to. I was all over the place there. But I mean, that's pretty good. I'm really happy with that. Again, B or circle to get out of that, and now you're in your menus. And now you're you're ready to go. You have two weapons that you're happy with. They're not doing anything wrong for you, and you're good to go. So that was an example of the desync, right? So for instance, if I'm on R99 here and I run out of ammo, it's going to switch guns for me without my Zen knowing, right? And now I'm on my 301, but I don't have my 301 profile selected. So that's an example of when the sync isn't working correctly. So to get out of that, like I mentioned in the setup video, you're going to hold your view or touchpad and then just press Y or triangle, and that gets us back to primary. I held it for too long, that's why I brought up the character menu. Obviously that's not going to happen in a game because you can't change the character. So anyways, that is the gun setup, the basics of it at least. You can go through and do that with every gun and figure out your recoil values for every one at different distances, different attachments, things like that. Again, the barrels and optics are the only thing that we found that can change your gun's recoil. But that's it. That's it for this setup guide. If you like this video and you find it helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I'm also looking to do more Apex gun guides on this channel as well. So comment down below if you guys would like to see a guide done on a specific gun. Also, my Discord's linked below. Feel free to join if you guys have any questions on the pack that I can help you with. You can also just leave questions in the comments below, and I try to answer all of them that I can. And thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.